Clooney, along with my good buddy, the Honorable Jeff.
Hello.
And Jeff, we are. I kind of want to cry. I kind of want to cry because we just got done with, in my opinion, the greatest tournament I've ever seen. Um,
I literally just said that in the description. I said it's the best G1 I've ever seen.
and now we've got about a 3 week break, and then we roll right into two new tournaments. So,
Yeah, don't we have Best of Super Juniors and World Tag League?
yeah, and a joint tour. Yeah. So
I don't
that's
know.
gonna be that's gonna be nuts, my friend.
I mean, of course, I had this whole booking thing all lined up how I wanted to go, and it didn't go that way, but that's not surprising. But I'm I don't know. I kind of expressed it to you. I'm disappointed in the winner.
You did.
I'm really disappointed in it simply because, and I know you're going to bring it up, so I'm going to let you do it, but I just think that he was pushed to the moon, won the belt, lost twice at Wrestle Kingdom, and then, and I get it, yeah, he was tagging with Tana and everything, but it kind of felt like a step back to go to the tag division and to not only go to the tag division, but only hold the belts for literally, didn't they lose it on their first defense?
Yep.
And they won it when nobody even knew they won it. I mean, we were avid watching every show we could watch, and we didn't even know they won it until they appeared on TV with it. Because they won it, didn't they win it on some house show?
Yeah, they won it on one of the Road Two shows
On
right
yeah,
right before they went on COVID break.
so it was kind of an underwhelming, and then I never felt like he really did much. Yeah, okay, Tana was hurt, so he kind of carried the tag team, and they made sure to note that and uh, called that out every chance they got, but. I just felt like he had an underwhelming year after how heavily he was pushed last year, and to see him, even his first couple of matches in the tournament were underwhelming, and then all of a sudden for him to win it, it just it I don't I and I know you mentioned it that they kind of did this stop start stuff with Naito and they did it with Omega, but I would argue that when they did it with Naito ended up taking 4 years to build himself back up to that point. Kenny went on an absolute tear and had three epic matches with Omega before he finally, crossed that bridge. Kota hasn't done anything. Outside, I mean, he came in that first year after the Elite left, and he was on fire. Absolute fire. He had, held the Intercontinental title, he held the Never title. He was putting on great matches. I mean, Jesus, there was a time when didn't want him to wrestle Naito anymore because I thought he was going to die. But they were still epic matches. And he went on a tear that entire year, so him winning the G1 was no surprise. He was the guy on fire, and he was on a tear all the way up until Wrestle Kingdom, and then he got punked by Omega or by Okada, and then by Jay White, and just really went in. I felt like a downfall. So for him to win it again I just feel like there were so many more better choices to win it.
I think that he would I have booked Kota Ibushi to win the G1 Climax this year? No, I would not have. But I'm not going to sit here and argue that he was a terrible choice to win it either. He he. You say he's done nothing this year, but he did wrestle two great matches at Wrestle Kingdom, even though he lost both of them.
Right.
Like you said, he's also been involved in the best feud there has been in New Japan this year, which is that tag feud you were just talking about. That has been an incredible storyline. Where was he going to betray Tana? Was he going to join up with uh, Taichi Gun? Was he going to to betray everything and
Taichi
finally
Goon.
snap? I was kidding.
I
Um,
just caught that literally. Like what the?
well,
Anyway.
it seems like he said it that way, doesn't it?
Well,
Um,
I mean, yeah, because it just and Taichi, I'll give it. Taichi has kind of earned it. He is no longer the schlep that we thought he was a year ago.
Not at all.
Or no, I mean, look at him 3 years ago. 3 years ago, his matches were unwatchable. And even
Right.
when he was the never champion last year, I still was kind of a snooze fest, but his stuff with Goto was amazing, and everything I've seen him do since then has been amazing. I
Yeah,
hate
tag
his
team's been.
gimmick with a passion, but I mean, I feel like he's really developed into that where I could easily see him becoming the leader of Suzuki-gun.
Yeah, absolutely. But then and you mentioned like when A block started, you could see a scenario where every single guy in the A block won,
Yep.
um, and you wouldn't be surprised if like we got to the final night and there was 8 guys tied for first place or something, But and so I mean to say that Ibushi shouldn't have won when you could have made a case for any of the guys in this block winning is a bit short sighted.
I think there were
Um,
two people
but
in the block though. If they had won, I would have been shocked. Like there were two people that I didn't see, but 2 out of 10 people or 2 out of 12 people, there were 10 people in that block that could have easily walked away with winning that, and
and
I wouldn't have second guessed it. Period.
and when I look at what they did with everybody else in the block, I in that particular block, when I look at everything else they did with them, um, I don't think Ibushi winning a block was a bad choice. Jay White winning it, I think would have been great. However, it means to me it fits Jay White's character better for him not to win G1, but to do what he's trying to do right now, which is steal it from Ibushi.
Right.
Um, for Will Ospreay, um, I would have loved to see him win G1. However, I think his heel turn and a feud with Okada is just as big for him as winning G1 would have been this year.
And that was an
Uh,
epic heel turn. That was one that I never thought we would see a Will Ospreay heel.
Ishii, as much as I'm as a fan of his, to me, he's become like a gatekeeper guy. He's never going to be the guy that wins the big one. Suzuki's
Sad.
not going to. Taichi's not going to this year. Um, of course, Takahashi's not going to. Not Yujiro Takahashi anyway. And let's see who else was in who else was in the block. Did I name everybody? I think I might have got everybody.
Wasn't Shingo in that block too?
Oh, and Shingo is, we talked about this before. Like Shingo, I think they just see as a Dragon Gate guy who's going to put on great matches, and he's going to anchor the Never division and maybe step up to the Intercontinental title division, but he's not going to win a G1 and he's not going to main event Wrestle Kingdom. And then you got Okada, right?
Right.
So Okada's the other guy I didn't mention, and I would take anybody other than Takahashi out of out of this thing winning it over Okada winning it again. I do not want to see Okada in the main event of Wrestle Kingdom for a couple of years. So at this point,
You wouldn't want
so
Takahashi winning it?
not Yujiro Takahashi, no.
Come on.
If it was um, Hiromu Takahashi,
Hiromu, then yeah.
then we'd be talking. If it was Shove, then we'd be talking. But no, I mean Ibushi winning it is to me the lesser of the evils that were in that block. Just because I don't think Osprey's quite ready.
No,
Okada, I just don't.
Osprey needs
Okada,
his feud with Okada to push himself to that limit, to push
right,
himself to that level.
right. Okada winning it just would sour my stomach. And White winning it, although I think it would be great, I think it'd be better in the future for him. I think right now the way his character is structured, him being the slimy guy who doesn't win, actually isn't actually able to win the tournament, but is able to be the first guy ever to steal that shot, is a lot cooler for
I feel
the Breathe of the Switchblade character.
I would love that. That would be amazing. That would be probably the highlight of my year, but I just feel like they are really pushing towards an evil white uh, breakup in Bullet Club.
Yeah, and even that makes sense. Where makes more sense than I mean that also fits in with evil, and it kind of sets up like a lot of guys to have big matches at Wrestle Kingdom, right?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, we've got Osprey. I assume that I could be wrong, but I assume that Okada's going to face the Great Okan before he faces Osprey, which would leave Osprey versus Okada at Wrestle Kingdom. We've got Evil versus Jay White coming up probably at Wrestle Kingdom. Sonata, who won the B block. Sonata won the B block, Jeff. He had never gotten more than 8 matches in the G1 before, and this year he gets 12 and wins the block.
Yeah,
Um,
and puts
but
on.
he did it. But he did it by he one of the guys he beat was um, Naito,
Yep.
and therefore he's earned himself a shot at the Intercontinental Championship. So he could easily be going into Wrestle Kingdom as the Intercontinental Champion with that title, with that set to defend against somebody, and then you got Naito versus Ibushi. So I mean, they're really setting the table very nicely for Wrestle Kingdom. And I want to talk about Sonata winning the B block more because again, as you know, he's been my favorite wrestler in NJPW for years.
Right.
Um, well since our boy decided that he was going to headbutt his way to retirement. Um, I love Sonata, and I love that he finally got a
Lots.
bit of a bit of his the push we've been waiting for him to get for all these years. He starts 0-3. He wins six straight to win the block, and then he just can't quite overcome that second um, uh, Kamagori Kamagai Kamag, Kamagori. Can't think of the name right off the top of my head by Ibushi. But Sonata is one of those guys that, for whatever reason, there are people that are really really down on. And I can see it sometimes because sometimes he does get lackadaisical. He gets that Randy Orton syndrome where if he's not going to win, he kind of shuts it down. But I think those last six matches he had in this block were all dynamite. You could see the real Sonata there, the energy Sonata had, the interaction he had with the crowd. I think that Kevin Kelly is saying at the end of it that Sonata will be back here was absolutely very
Yeah.
true. I think Sonata's on the rise right now. And I think people are going to start turning around on Sonata like you and I turned around on Taichi.
I hope so, but I think people were already huge on Sonata. They just kind of got um, sick of him being thrown into the big spots and losing. I think that's become, and when people talk about that, they don't look at somebody like Naito. How many years did Naito go through that before he finally overcame? So is it really a surprise that Sonata would kind of go through the same building process? I mean, the Naito storyline was what, 5 years long, 5 or 6 years long?
I think the difference is that Naito always had a connection with the crowd, and there's always excitement. Whereas Sonata is such a cool customer that at times it seems like he's out there. It seems like he doesn't care, and he does care.
He
You
seems
know,
like he doesn't care, but the crowd loves him.
yeah. And I think he just did a much better job this year in G1 interacting with the crowd the way they interact with him.
Yeah, and I will agree, especially that last match when, he told everyone, hold off, don't hit your lights yet, and then he turned down the lights and had them turn down the lights in the building, and yeah, I thought that was kind of a cool moment the way that he did that.
Yeah, I did too, and I loved his matches against Tanahashi, against Naito, against Zack Sabre Jr. And I thought that the final and the B block against Evil was really good too.
Yeah.
And that told a great story, and it still left meat on the table for those two, or meat on the plate for those two because they're still are guys that should be bitter rivals, considering that Evil betrayed his tag team partner and his faction, and instead Sonata just out wrestled him.
Yeah, and that was one of I think my only um negative about that match. I loved the match, but I think my only negative about that match was there just didn't seem like the kind of heat you would have expected from a Sonata Evil match, considering everything that Evil did. Evil was still a dastardly prick, but ultimately it just felt like there wasn't I never really felt like there was the heat that there should have been.
No, I didn't either. It felt like they had put aside their personal feelings to compete for that spot in the G1.
Which was just like every other G1 tournament when they had their matches and they
Right,
faced off against each other. It just
right,
it didn't feel like, I mean, because correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the first time they met since Evil betrayed them, right?
correct.
Because Evil fought Tanahashi, Evil fought Naito, but this is well, Evil fought Naito twice, but this was the first time he and Sonata squared off, and you I personally would have felt like Sonata or Evil turning on LIJ would have been more uh, up Sonata's alley, where he should have taken that as a personal, a personal attack and really did something about it, but he just didn't. And that would have been a good way to get that emotion and character development out of Sonata is by just having him be as emotional as Tanahashi was, or as Takahashi was, I mean.
Yeah, and if they did for the Bullet Club stuff, then I could easily see those two facing up again at Wrestle Kingdom in an Intercontinental Championship match between Sonata and Evil.
Yeah,
Because both guys did beat Naito, so both guys have earned a shot at one of those two championships. And Sonata and Naito has said he wants to defend the belts, um, you know, separately rather than together.
yeah, and it's time to break those apart again. I mean, it was a cool thing when Naito won it. I never felt like both belts should have went to Evil. I never felt like both belts should have been on the line for anybody. It should have been one or the other from the start. And then they had a chance to, split them up when Tanahashi or Jesus Takahashi challenged Evil. Originally, he
Hmm.
said, if you don't want to put them both up, I'll just take the Intercontinental.
Right.
And they had a chance to break it apart, and they didn't do it. And then, both belts get back on Naito, and now they have to break them apart. I do like because I remember in my original theory that I wanted Sonata to face Naito for the Intercontinental belt and eventually win it. And that would be a great way because when I originally pitched that to you, you were talking about how the crowd, everybody doesn't seem to really buy into him anymore. And I'm like, well, that an epic win over Naito to win the Intercontinental title would be a great way to do that.
Yeah, I just think that this scenario worked out even better than yours, in my opinion, just because now we've got a Sonata who was on a six-match winning streak, you know, and really fired up rather than being a guy that ended up with 6 or 8 points in the G1 after a really terrible start.
Yeah. I mean, I'm okay with it. I like the way that he did perform throughout the G1. I felt like he did a great job and was able to really sell himself and had some great matches. So I feel like he accomplished what I wanted a 4-month storyline to do. He was able to do in the 2 months of the G1. He's now believable.
I
Where
do also like the fact that all three of Naito's losses in the G1 were clean. I mean, not that Kenta didn't cheat or Evil didn't cheat in their matches, but the finish to the matches was not cheating. The finish to the matches was clean. Kenta rolled up Naito, um, and Evil reversed the Destino into the Everything is Evil.
right.
After Sonata was the first one to get a pinfall victory with the moonsault, so it was kind of cool to see that guys in Bullet Club like Kenta and Evil, who almost always win through chicanery, won cleanly against the best wrestler on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean it was the match with Naito to or I'm sorry, with Evil. Sonata's match with Evil was just not. I, I like the fact that it was kind of a Sonata overcoming odds type of thing.
Hmm.
I don't know, like I said, I just wish there'd been more heat for former tag team partners and supposed best friends.
I agree. I just wonder if they just felt like G1 wasn't the time for that.
It's possible, but it would have been even if they had done a little bit more. Maybe not have that blowout feud, but at least a little more emotion for a guy that just betrayed his best friend. It just didn't. I never felt like there was the heat that there should have been.
Well, speaking of reactions to being betrayed, I think we saw that on G1 Finals night when we saw how Okada jumped Will Ospreay at the start of their tag team match
Right. Yeah.
because Ospreay turned his back on his mentor Okada to start his own stable.
And which, in all honesty, I felt like was an epic heel turn, simply because I didn't see it coming. He literally turned on his, like you said, on his mentor to break apart and form his own stable. But what is his stable? Is B Priestley no longer all elite?
No, she was released a while ago.
Okay, I guess I didn't realize she was released. Um, and then who was the other guy that was in that stable?
The Great Okan.
Which I don't know.
He was I can't remember what his name was, but he was formerly a young lion, and then he went to an excursion to um, Rev Pro, and so now he's back as a member of New Japan again.
Okay. All right. Well, I hope that I mean the last thing we need again is another stable in New Japan, but hopefully Osprey can pull it off. I'd like to see Robbie Eagles come back and be in it as with him as well because those two made a great tag team.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. No, I mean you're right. It's not like we need another stable in New Japan, but if we're going to have one, then they could do worse than having Will Ospreay lead one.
What do you want me to do, Arlo? Okay, can you give me 20 minutes? Just 20 minutes. That's all I've been asking for all day long. Is just 20 minutes to do something.
Do you think he's 5 years old? Do you think he knows what 20 minutes really means?
I'd settle for 3. I mean, literally, he's been on me all day long since he got up at 7 o'clock this morning. And then of course my work is ridiculously stressful anyway.
Right,
But he has been just on me all day.
and that's a bad thing, right?
Um, it's a stressful thing. It's not a bad thing. I love my kid. He's looking for attention, and I haven't been probably the most attentive that I am normally because I've been so busy at work. Um, so I get it. I get it. I understand, and I'm okay with it. But
Good,
I do. It is just really stressful.
gotcha. Okay, so
So yeah, there's that.
yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with Osprey being the leader of a new stable. Did I want another stable in New Japan? No, but is that how they're structured? Yes. So if there's going to be a new stable coming on anyway, I'd rather be led by Will Osprey than somebody else.
Well,
You
and
know,
I
and again, it gives him a chance to kind of expand his wings and to show his leadership skills, and to just become the guy that we think he can be. And it was great seeing Will Osprey return to G1 and just pick up right where he left off as far as being the best professional wrestler on the planet. I remember I texted you after I watched a match, and I said, "Is it possible I just watched the two best wrestlers on the planet?" And you said, "Yes, yes, it is."
well because
when he
they
was when he was facing up against Jay White.
because they are. They just are. I mean, Osprey is probably the best in-ring storyteller there is right now, and I don't think there's a better heel in the business than Jay White. Arlo, here.
Yeah, that match between them was just excellent.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I loved every second of it. So and that was probably my favorite match of the tournament too.
Yeah, I think you said that it might end up being your match of the year.
With the matches we've seen this year, and I know we were so hell fire on Osprey at the beginning of the year because I mean he had 3 matches and all 3 were 5-star matches.
Hmm.
And then coronavirus hit and the world shut down, and then he still went out, and the first match we saw was another epic match from him against B Priestley. It was just not something that I would have expected the way that they work together, being that they are related. But I felt like that was an amazing match too. And then we didn't get to see Osprey
Well,
for a while.
they're not related. They're fucking.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah,
Okay.
it meant they're dating, is what I meant. But see, this is how scatterbrained my head is like this week. But yeah, I mean, and I felt like that was a great match too. And then Osprey went away for 3 months. and we
Right.
ended up watching a lot of Ring of Honor, a lot of, so we got to see some great performances from Roddy and, um, you know, Davey, and I can't think of the dude's name, Eddie Edwards. But then Osprey comes out in this tournament and reclaims the Wrestler of the Year in what? How long is this tournament been going? 2 months?
Uh, a month.
Is it a month?
Yeah, 30 days.
All I know is within the matches that Osprey had, did he have one bad match the entire tournament?
Well, to be fair, I didn't watch all of them because I didn't, because I had to, make sure I got caught up on everything. But I'm assuming his matches against like Tai Chi and Takahashi weren't spectacular.
No,
But
they weren't. I mean, they weren't five-star classics. I don't think he had a. I mean, I would argue that his one against Okada was 5 star, and definitely his one against Jay White was a 5+ star. Um, but other than that, I don't think he had anything higher than a 4-star match the rest of the tournament.
yeah, his one, his well, you know, let's talk about that because I loved the Jay White match, and I've seen some criticism about it.
There's
Uh,
criticism about everything.
but but I also saw where um a lot of people had um his match against Shingo as a 5 star absolute one of the best of all time classics, and I didn't feel that way about that match. So
I thought it was great. I didn't feel that way either, though. That was his match last year, right?
I'm talking about the one they had this year in the G1.
Oh, okay. I I felt like their one last year over the junior belt was better.
I did too, and I thought last year's was like a a match of the year quality type match last year. This year, I just thought it was more of the same. I didn't really think it was that great. So I didn't understand the reaction people had to it.
And one thing, and I didn't mention this when it first happened, but it was something that kind of stood out to me was when when Osprey had his first match, and then he took the mic after his first match, and he got on and he had kind of an arrogance to him, but not his normal humor arrogance. It was just arrogance. Like, you guys are here and thank God I'm back and all this stuff. Where normally Osprey has done that, he's talked like that, but ultimately it's been more of a tongue-in-cheek type thing.
Hmm.
And this interview that he did where he was talking about thank God I'm back, you're welcome and all this stuff was not that tongue-in-cheek. It was just an arrogant ass. And I wanted to mention that and I completely forgot about it when we had the show. But that to me kind of foreshadowed his heel turn. And I was thinking when I initially saw that interview, it kind of hit me a little bit like, is he going to turn heel soon? Because that was so un-Will Ospreay.
I'm sure you're gonna be shocked to discover that I felt exactly the same way.
Oh, did
I
you?
was like, yeah, I
Okay.
was like, huh. I was like,
It just
yeah, that does seem like I was like, yeah, he just definitely felt like he was turning heel.
it really did. Like, it felt like he was turning heel in that promo even, because it was not the normal Will Ospreay, tongue-in-cheek humor. Ha, I'm the greatest ever, but um, I'm also gonna poke fun at myself. It was just him just being an asshole, basically. So I'm glad that you caught that and felt that same way. But it just, yeah, that that was probably, and it was different than it was when Evil turned, I guess, heel. I mean, it's hard to tell with Lij. Are they faces? Are they heel? Are they just tweeners? So they can go either way. Um, but when Naito turned on, or when, I'm sorry, when um, Evil turned, he was, getting more and more aggressive in each match. Like, each match was a progression to his eventual turn. Where Osprey's, I didn't feel that way out of his matches, but definitely that promo was kind of foreshadowing.
I'm hoping that the stable, now that I actually kind of thought about it a little bit, I'm hoping that this stable is UK based. I mean, we've already got him and B Priestley, and he's got the Great Okan, who, yes, is a Japanese wrestler, but was based in Rev Pro for the last year and a half or so. I think it'd be cool, like if he like brought in, like if El Phantasmo left Bullet Club to join his stable, or things like that, and it became like a stable that was based on British Gaijins, whereas the Bullet Club has been based on American and Samoan Gaijins.
Until they decided to start bringing in every Japanese wrestler they could find.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's I would love to see that. Maybe ZSJ come over there too.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool, and also to have Will Ospreay's um, favorite wrestler also be a member of that stable would be really cool too.
Who's his favorite wrestler?
Well, he's the same. His favorite wrestler same as every
Oh
as
yeah,
your
yeah,
favorite
yeah.
wrestler's favorite wrestler.
Is he even wrestling anymore? I thought he was pretty much banned.
Well, I think he was too, but there's people that are detracting Osprey because of things that happened around the same type of thing as
No, that's
well,
true.
and he's getting a big push in New Japan. So if Hoo Ha David Starr, oh Hoo Ha David Starr,
But
made his
would
way to New Japan, I'd be pretty happy about that.
but would David Starr come off the independence for that? I guess if he wants to work, he pretty much has to.
Correct.
Because he's not getting hired anywhere on the independents.
That sure doesn't seem that way, does it?
No, but yeah, he would be a perfect fit too. And then even if like with Osprey as a heel, ZSJ would fit in perfectly there. The only problem is which one of those two would I actually want leading the stable? It's like would Osprey be the leader, or would those two be kind of battling like Evil and Jay White are over leadership?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and they have tag teams they could bring in too. Like what was that? What was that tag team that you love so much in Rev Pro?
Oh, the Aussies. Not I can't. They're Osprey's friends
Yeah,
is who they are, but I can't remember their name. It wasn't South Coast Connection. I can't remember who they are, but they're actually Osprey's. They spent so much time in Defiant talk every living up their friendship with Osprey. So that would be a good tag team to bring in too. And Lord knows Japan needs some tag teams.
correct. And I think that every great stable needs to have a tag team.
Yeah, so I mean they'd be a good fit. David Starr would be a good fit, but David Starr is American. He's not British.
But yeah, he's American. But he spent his almost entire career wrestling
In Britain, yeah,
in Britain.
England.
Yeah,
So yeah, that would make sense. And ZSJ would be a nice addition. And I can't remember the other guy that you said too. Oh, El Phantasmo
and
would be
Phantasmo.
would
Yeah,
be great in that as well. Oh, I like the stable now because they'd all make perfect heels. Like every single one of them that we just mentioned. El Phantasmo is great as a heel. ZSJ, we know what he is as a heel. Um, Osprey is intriguing as a heel. Because, like I said, he's always been that arrogant ass, but always tongue in cheek. How's that going to translate to just being an arrogant ass?
exactly.
So that's an interesting thing to see. We've seen B as a heel before too, so we know she can pull it off. And that tag team were great as heels in Defiant. So I like the possibilities of this.
Me too. I mean, I don't know if that's the direction they're going to go, but I think it'd be really cool if they did.
They're going
Um,
to Arlo.
so did you know that the card for Power Struggle is now out already?
Oh, is it?
November 7th. Would you like to hear the card?
Yes.
Okay. The KOPW 2020 Championship is being defended by Toro Yano against Zack Sabre Jr.
What's the stipulation?
Doesn't say.
Like, do I care? It's a hardcore belt for New Japan.
Yeah, but ZSJ's in it.
Yeah, good point.
Minoru Suzuki defending the Never title against Shingo Takagi.
Love it.
Kazuchika Okada versus the Great Okan.
Here's my thing is I want Shingo to win the belt back
I do
because
too.
I was really disappointed that the one time he faced off against a heavyweight, he lost.
Right. Yeah, he needs to win it back and then defend it at Wrestle Kingdom against. I guess it would probably be against Goto or Ishii. I think Ishii against him would be pretty cool.
Yeah, and I'm done with Goto as an ever champion. I just am.
I'm
It's
just not sure New Japan is.
yeah, true. Um, just on a side note, this Phoenix Pentagon match is sick.
Oh, is it happening tonight?
Yeah, and they're having that tournament, the eliminator tournament.
Is it better than the matches they had in MLW against each other?
It's on part of the one they had against each other in Impact.
Okay, cool.
Um, I think it's better than anything they did in MLW so far, but I'm kind of half watching it too. But what I've seen, it's these two remind me of the Briscoes, where they just go out and beat the hell out of each other. They don't care.
Um,
What, Arlo? Go back and get it then.
so we have Okada versus the Great Okan, like I predicted.
Hmm.
Um, U.S. Championship briefcase match: Kenta versus Hiroshi Tanahashi.
Oh, that's yeah, the okay. All right. Who is the
Wrestle
U.S.
Kingdom
champion anyway?
Wrestle Kingdom contract match: Kota Ibushi versus Jay White, and then the double gold match: Tetsuya Naito versus Evil.
My only problem is how are they going to it just seems too early for Jay White to be in that position.
Why?
It just I'd rather see a build to that than to have it because I can't see him winning it from Coda.
We're 2.5 months away from Wrestle Kingdom. How much of a build-up can they possibly
All
do?
right, fair enough. I keep forgetting it's a lot later in the year than we're
Than
used to
usual.
for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Arlo, I will have to help you in a few minutes, okay? I can't drop everything right this second.
It sounds like it does look like a great card to me though.
Yeah, it does.
And as AEW, since you're watching it right now, the other thing I wanted to talk about tonight was I watched last week's show, right? And it was a good show. But I think they could really benefit from not having this eliminator tournament, but having a tournament like G1 in AEW. Because what they're trying to do right now is a blend between having tournaments and having like their you could argue that they don't need a G1 tournament because their matches on TV are supposed to matter and factor into the rankings, and then whoever's top of the rankings should be getting those title shots.
Right, which
But
they
it
never
never seems to
do
work out that way unless they feel like it should work out that way. Like
because they have
like
elimination matches, they have four-way matches, they have battle royals. You
and
know,
gauntlets and yeah.
I
And
like the fact that they're incorporating this tournament. I really do. It's nice that they're actually doing. Cause, and then later on, the main event tonight is a four-way tag match to find out who's going to be the tag title number one contenders for the tag titles.
of course it is. Why wouldn't it be?
But
But the thing is though that last week Big Swole was the number two contender for the women's title, and the number one contender wasn't around, so it made perfect sense that she got the title shot, right? And they
I
made it a big
no,
deal for weeks that the number one contenders for the tag titles were best friends, and that FTR was pushing them aside and wasn't giving them their fair shot.
right?
But yet, when someone's a top contender for a title and they don't feel like they should get a title shot or they want to have some kind of drama about it, then they book these mini tournaments or these gauntlet matches or whatever. They're never consistent about it, which is what bugs me.
Yeah, and how many times? I think the only one that actually got his number one contendership was Moxley, wasn't it? And Nyla Rose.
I think so.
Other than, well, I guess I take that back. Sheeta was considered the number one for a while too. But typically, they decided on a tournament, or not on a tournament, but on a battle royal or something stupid like that.
Right. So I mean, I think it's cool that Phoenix and Penta are in this tournament, but at the same time, I wish it was a not an eliminator tournament. I wish it was a longer version where, you've got the round robin format, so the best guy absolutely wins. You know.
Well, they're trying to find somebody for full gear, so they're
No,
kind
they're
of.
trying somebody for after full gear. The finals are at full gear.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Well, still, Full Gear is only what, 2 weeks away, 2 or 3 weeks away.
Yes, but they could have started this tournament months ago too. They didn't have to start it this week.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And they're the ones booking it. They can make it. They can decide to do anything they want to do, Jeff.
That is true. Yeah.
Um, the other, yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention about it is that John Moxley had that good match against Lance Archer that he ended up winning at the end with that roll up. Um, and then afterwards, we had Kingston attack Moxley after praising him and all that jazz, hitting with the spinning back fist. And watching that stuff happen, I just looked at that and I thought briefly about it, and I didn't come to I came to one conclusion really, and one of the and that person is actually in the tournament. But I looked at that and I went, is there anybody in the promotion right now that I would be excited to see John Moxley lose the championship to? And I had a hard time coming up with somebody.
The only person that I can think of that I would want to see beat Moxley would have been Brody Lee before they buried him to make Cody look good again.
But Lee already lost to Moxley.
Right, but I'm just saying he's the only person in the company that I would have been like, yeah, let's put a belt on him. Other than that, I can't think of anyone.
Isn't that a big problem though?
I mean, MJF, I feel like he's close to that level. I just don't feel like he's at that level yet, and I think he kind of proved it in his match where he's right there. He is right there on that level, but he's not at that level. Um, and I'm trying to think of who else in the company. Kenny, but Kenny's kind of doing his own thing.
See, that's the thing though. Is like when I look at all the guys that are the top guys that are the top contenders
There's
that I would see
nobody.
in that spot, they've all lost to Moxley already. MGF has already lost to Moxley. Brian Cage has already lost to Moxley. Jericho's already lost to Moxley. Darby Allin's already lost to Moxley. You know what I mean?
Kenny's already lost.
Kenny's already lost. Kingston's already lost. I can't remember if Hangman lost him or not, but
To
but it feels like
Moxley,
but it feels like he did. It feels like he did.
I don't think those two have ever met one on one, have they?
Well, that's what I was trying to remember is if they met one on one before Moxley won the title or not.
Well, before Moxley won the title, he didn't lose matches. I think he's
He didn't
only
lose any matches at all ever. That's my point.
has he well has he lost a match yet?
No, he's undefeated.
That's what I thought because he didn't lose a single match before his when he made his run up to the title, and yeah, he still holds the title, so he hasn't lost any matches.
Right, and it feels like they're setting up for Kingston beginning the main event shot at Full Gear.
Which is fine and all, but Kingston to me is not a believable heavyweight champion either.
He is, but he already lost to Moxley. That's my point. Is like there's nobody that's going to like rise up and have a big push and finally be the one to overcome Moxley that hasn't already lost to Moxley. Which is why when I look at this tournament and I'm like Ray Phoenix, it's got to be Ray Phoenix.
You know, it took Kenny how many matches before he finally beat Okada?
I know
If
that,
they,
but
but I'm just saying, if they would, but the thing is, they're not telling a story like that. But if they
they're
would tell
well,
a story like that, then it would be believable for one of those other guys. Like MJF would have been a perfect candidate because he was, you know, kind of that same type that Kenny was, where he's great, he's still learning, he's young, he's not quite there yet to run with Okada, but he's there, he's able to run with him, but not quite there yet. So that kind of storytelling with him would have done great things for MJF and the future of the company.
yeah, I just feel I think that one thing I feel about it is that AEW is booking themselves into these corners by going by the traditional American way of having to have a title defense every month.
Yeah,
Because he's already defended against way too many people.
that is true. Yes, he has. I mean, he we don't need to have a yeah, we don't need to have a title defense every single month. They need to build up to it.
Yeah, they really do. And I mean the way what you're talking about with somebody having to fight their way up. I mean that would work with Darby Allen. If Darby Allen would had he already lost to Moxley, and if he he's building himself over the next few months. But how long do we want to see Moxley as the champion either?
What about
You know?
Luchasaurus? He could be a guy that I could see win this tournament, get the title shot, and actually get pushed and be believable at it. He's
Is he
never,
is he in the tournament?
I don't know if he is or not. If he's not, they
Okay.
made a huge mistake.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing him in the bracket, but he could be. But yeah, I like that idea as well.
I mean, Luchasaurus he might be the only person, bring it here, Arlo. He might be the only person that fits that mold. That is close to that main event status anyway. People want to see him there. It's just that he's been stuck in his tag team.
Yeah, he was so red hot after All Out last year, and then coming into Dynamite, and then he got that injury, and then when he came back, they seem to have put more of the focus on Jungle Boy than on him.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand that. They can do both at the same time. One guy's ready and one guy's up and coming. Luchasaurus really is a guy that the crowd would get really far behind and could easily be a top guy in that company.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then Jungle Boy could be on the come.
Gross.
Not how I meant it. Come, not cum.
Oh, okay, okay. My bad.
Yeah, I just thought about that. I'm like, Moxley, holding the title and being a long-term reigning champion is good if somebody can beat him and rise up. But who is there that can do that right now?
Hmm.
Because I see what you mean about guys have finally overcoming and not being able to after not being able to beat a guy, but at the same time it feels like they need to have one of their young up and coming stars beat Moxley without Moxley first beating them. And I don't think that's possible the way they booked it.
Yeah, you're right. It's not. They really have booked themselves into kind of a clusterfuck.
And for the record, I don't disagree. I don't agree with you necessarily that MGF wasn't ready to be a champion. I think he should have won the title at All Out.
I'm not saying that he, isn't ready. I guess that came out wrong.
And and
I
and and
think
and, and actually, he did win the title at All Out. He just never got the belt because Moxley
cheated.
used a move he wasn't supposed to use, and the rule was not if the referee saw him use the move, he was losing the title. The rule was if he uses the move, he loses the title.
Right.
So Tony Khan or Cody or the Bucks or somebody should have stepped in and said, "Sorry, John, MJF's the champion now because you used a move you weren't supposed to use."
Oh, they don't do stuff like that because they they're too busy worried about Cody being a TNT champion.
I know. I'm just saying that really the way the stipulation was
No,
booked,
no, I
that's
get,
what should
yeah,
have happened.
yeah, I agree. I agree with you.
I know. How could you not agree with me?
Well, I can come up with quite a few reasons.
All right.
This is
Anything else we want to cover
nagging.
this week?
Uh, I got nothing. I mean,
Because I know we're cutting into your Lego time.
what's that?
We're cutting into your Lego time.
Oh my goodness, cutting into my nap time. All right, well, no, I don't have anything. That was, I think we started talking a little bit more about AEW than I thought we were going to.
Is that okay?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right.
I mean, I love what's going on in NJPW. I'm kind of enjoying AEW over the last few weeks again. Um, I agree with you that they're kind of booking themselves in corners. Like I don't understand. You can't if you're an AEW fan and you are big being the elite fan and you watch them both, which I'm sure a lot of people do. Somebody please explain to me how you can buy into the Dark Order because their characters on Being the Elite are a bunch of bumbling jackasses. But then they're supposed to be on AEW television. They're supposed to be some kind of dominant faction. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I don't watch both, so I guess I don't see that's those two sides of it.
Yeah,
I,
true. All right,
I've watched
fair
Being
enough.
the Elite, and I don't know how long.
Yeah, you're not missing anything.
I'm sure I'm
It's
not.
just it was maddening. It was literally like I wanted to cry when I was watching it. That's how frustrating it was. Because it was like here I am watching AEW television and buying into the Dark Order like there's something special, and then it ends up being, you know, crap basically.
And speaking of guys losing in their first shot at a title, what would the harm have been of that match going one extra second and Orange Cassidy winning the TV title, the TNT title from Cody?
Exactly. Why does Cody need to have it on? Why did Cody have to come back after the most dominant victory by a performer um, since Cena got destroyed by Brock Lesnar?
Right.
Uh, you know, and doesn't even sell it, sells it for a month where he doesn't show up on TV for a month, then comes back and wins the title back right away.
Hmm.
Like that, like what Cena and did I don't think Cena and Lesnar met again after that match, did they?
No, they did.
And Cena must have got his win back then, but it wasn't right away. It was years later.
No, Cena did not get his win back. He was about to win, and Seth Rollins came in and fate cashing in the briefcase, and then rolled out of the ring when Lesnar came at him, and then Cena like went for Lesnar, and Lesnar hit him with the F5 again and pinned him.
Okay, so yeah, it was a couple of years later because that was 2014, and when he got just demolished, and then he didn't show up. He wasn't on TV for a while.
No, I'm saying it was like the month after that they had the rematch.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Well, regardless, it didn't end up being um like it was with Cody, where Cody came in and got his win back right away and went right back to being the champ. I think a run by Brody would have been great, and like I said, that thing with Orange Cassidy last week would have been great.
yeah. I mean, I
And
guess he gets a rematch next week anyway, but it's still is like is what is the harm in having a young up and coming wrestler win the title on their first shot at it? I just don't get it.
the thing that I don't like is, like you said, they're too Americanized. They're having title shots every single week. They're kind of in the ballad of threes, where Jericho and Cassie just got out of their threesome of matches. Hardy and Guevara are had their threesome. Well, they would have until he got hurt, but there's just a lot of it seems like cookie cutter American wrestling, and it's frustrating to me because they were supposed to be changing the world.
And I really don't think that I'm going to be able to fully embrace them until somebody that was not an established star in WWE wins a male singles championship in that promotion.
Or until they stop flooding our TV with the executives, the four executives.
No, I don't care about that. I'm talking about I want to see somebody other than a guy that was a champion in WWE be a champion in AEW on the singles ranks,
Yeah.
and it has not happened yet.
Well, yeah, you're right. They've only had four champions, four singles champions
Yep,
in.
Cody's done it twice.
Hmm.
Brody Lee's done it once, and then Moxley and Jericho have done it once.
Yep. And the tag team belts have only been held by what, four people, three people? Has it been three?
Three teams. Yep.
The only one that's really been a lot is the females. Arlo, bring her here. No, I guess
No,
Sheeta's their third champion too.
there's only been three women's champions too. So I mean, it's good that they have stability. It's good that they have stability in those belts. It just I really want there to be a reason for them to be an actual alternative. And
Right.
they're just, to me, when it's just guys that were when the top of the promotion, the top, the top of the mid card and the top of the heavyweight, of the top of the the main event are always headlined by guys that were WWE champions already. It is not something that's conducive to there being a true alternative.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of the problem that TNA ran into, where they, everybody that came from WWF pretty much became a champion.
Hmm. And I have no problem with Moxley being their champion. My problem is I think he's held it for too long now, and he could have easily lost it to somebody that has not been a
Right.
WWE guy.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Anyway,
All right,
hit our social media stuff, and you can go play with your kid
guys,
or go to bed. Either way.
oh, I'll play with him for a little bit, then go to bed. How about that? Could
Works
we
for
go?
me.
Anyway, guys, our Patreon, our jobs are stressful, as you've already heard me complain about at least 5 times tonight. Um, but we're seeing the end of the tunnel. So once we get to the end of the tunnel, we'll start doing some more Patreon shows again. In the meantime, you can go there, check out the ones that we've already done, and use our uh, check out the shows we've already done and our archive as well, because every show that we've ever done is on there, no matter what format we've been in, no matter what we've discussed. They're all on our Patreon for you to listen to whenever you want. Um, Also, YouTube, of course, you're listening to us on it now, hopefully. Um, Go ahead, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell. Head over to, the other side. Like we've got two YouTube channels going right now. If you're listening to us on Lords of Pain, head over to our page, Kingdom of Honor, and like and subscribe to that one, and vice versa. And then, of course, Twitter. I'm at Regi Co-op. He's at ZanmanLOP. And use the hashtag KOH. We'll get you anything that way.
Yep, and stay tuned to other shows here on LOP Radio. Um, that's all we've got. We'll try to do better next time. This is Shane saying long days, pleasant nights, and Jeff saying
Goodbye.